Hello, podcast legends. Welcome back to episode 9 now. 9! Flying through. And I'm here today, fed and ready for you to talk about intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding, as I've also been known it to be called right now. The art of not eating for set periods of time, whether that be days or as I did for certain hours during the day. There's different variants. I'm going to talk about the 16-8, which is the style I went through last week. I tried to do 7 days. I didn't quite make the 7 days, but I gave it a very good punt and learnt a lot from the experience. And that's why I'm here today, to share that. Talk to you about the benefits that I've read about, listened to, and the reasons I was interested in it in the first place. Because there are lots to be had if you are someone who's interested in intermittent fasting, but also the challenges I experienced, because I think not many people are talking about that at the moment. It's all very on trend at the moment. It's all very good, but I want to talk to you about what is difficult about it and what you might experience, certainly if you're someone like me who is used to eating a lot or eating regularly. It is tough, certainly that first 7 days. So I want to share that with you so you can come away today and feel ready to move forward with it if you wish, or make a decision not to give it a go. As ever, I hope this podcast helps today. If you're not subscribed already, please do that, because I'm coming every week. I'm coming at you from all angles with all sorts of information. We're going from styling one week to fasting the next. Who knows where we'll be next week, but I hope it's helping. Enjoy. I was listening to Dr. RANGAN CHATTERJEE's podcast. If you haven't listened to his podcast, do that. He's a very, very educated guy. He's a doctor. You might see him on the telly occasionally. I think I ran into him because he was on This Morning somewhere and I just saw his name and started following him. One of his podcasts was a 2-parter explaining what they found through research with mice. And they were saying how they had 2 sets of mice, one of which was allowed to eat freely throughout the day, but they were on a more healthy option, per se, for a mouse. And then the other group were restricted to only 8 hours, but they were allowed higher fat, higher sugar diet. And they showed that the group, surprisingly, that had the high sugar, high fat diet within restricted time period had greater health benefits. Now, the podcast is a 2-parter. It's over like 90 minutes, probably 2 hours worth of content, and you can listen deeper into that. But ultimately, it was like, oh, that's weird, that's not normal. I need to think about this a bit more. So I looked into intermittent fasting. I'd already read Dr. Mosley's book, The 5-2. I've had clients that have done well on that, where they have 2 days fasting, 5 days eating. So I was aware there was some research and people that are doing well, living that life and feeling good for it. So plenty of benefits to talk about. Mainly, it's going to help you lose weight. It does it quite quickly because you're restricting your food. I mean, anything that restricts your calories clearly is going to have an impact on weight and body fat. So without doubt, I think it can do that. They're saying it slows down the aging process. I mean, I've still got grey hairs and a bald head, so it didn't quite help for me in 7 days. You might have to stick it out a bit longer than that. They're saying it helps you sleep, it can reduce stress, reverse type 2 diabetes, I've seen claims for. Lots of claims, lots of benefits to be seen. As ever with these things, there's always new research up and coming. I'm sure when the kind of wave of fasting trend has passed, we'll probably find some benefits to some other style. I mean, I've been in the industry for 10, 12 years, something like that. In my time, we've seen all sorts of things come through as trendy and great and the new thing. I believe that fasting is currently that, probably with some good reason, but I won't be surprised if in a year or two's time we're not speaking about it as much. The thing that I want to bring up today, which I think is the most important and the thing that I can bring more value to, is the challenges associated with it. That not many people talk about. Now, I am from the old school in the fitness industry of eat every 2 to 4 hours, eat breakfast like a king, and then gradually less and less throughout the day. I love eating. I feel it fuels my body. I've bounced through every day for as long as I can remember. I exercise as well as I can, and I feel good, That's my background. So when I entered this 7-day challenge, this experiment, All of a sudden, I've told my body I'm not going to eat for 16 hours, which I've never done, I'll never do, and I struggled big time. Not on the first day. The first day was okay. I think it was the excitement of starting something new, the fact I was busy. So that 12 till 8 p.m. window of eating that I allowed myself was okay on day one. Day two, in the morning, I started to think, oh gosh, I was up at 5 a.m. I remember I had a client at 6 in the morning. I looked at the clock at 6 a.m. and I thought, that's a long way to midday, Frank. That's a long way. I had a black coffee in my hand. I had 2 litres of water on the side. By the time I'd finished that client, it's only an hour, I'd finished the 2 litre bottle and I'd finished my coffee because I was just, I think, probably just anxious about the fact I couldn't eat. I mean, it's only an hour or two, but it was almost that stress of telling myself I couldn't eat made me just more aware of the fact I wanted to put something in my mouth that was edible. And yeah, it just progressively got harder as the week went on, and I kept just thinking about food constantly. Even when that window of opportunity opened, the 12 till 8 p.m. eating window opened, I was just thinking, how much can I get in my neck? You know, how much can I eat? I need to stock up because I'm going to be starving tonight. And it was just a constant around the clock, and that's no exaggeration, worry about food and how much I can eat and when I can eat. And that was the most immediate challenge I had. So certainly be aware of that. I think it's an instant no-no if you're someone like me who doesn't deal well with restriction. It's just too much of a psychological stress. And I actually had some discussions about how that can have a long-term impact on people who maybe struggle around control of food. So consider that, the psychological side of this, before you even think about the physical ones. I like exercise. I feel strong when I exercise. It makes me feel better. It makes me bounce through life quicker, be happier at home. I can keep up with the kids better. I can ultimately do my job better when I can exercise. In the first 7 days of fasting, I was a wimpy little mess, even more than normal. I had no energy, it was lethargic. My mate Fred was taking the mick, so I had to keep stopping. I was skipping repetitions, I was looking like a Burke in the gym, hanging around the water fountain looking for excuses. HIIT training I did at home on my own to one of my home exercise videos. And we have 5 levels to choose from on my plan. I knew I couldn't do the top level. I was thinking, I'm just not up to this today. I've not got the energy. So I opted for level 2 and flopped. I just dragged myself through it. It was just pure lack of energy. And I know from speaking to people who have done intermittent fasting for long periods that gets easier, that does get better. So keen exercises out there, definitely consider that before entering into fasting if you wish to do so. And the third and final challenge I experienced, which I'd love you to be aware of, again, not spoken about much, is the social aspect of it, the social pressure you will experience from being on intermittent fasting. Now, I was doing this experiment for 7 days. No one else in my life other than Fred was doing that. I don't see him that much now. We see each other once or twice a week maybe, so the pressure isn't there necessarily. But at home, the wife wasn't doing it. The kids certainly weren't doing it. The people in the gym weren't doing it. My clients weren't doing it. So everyone I was around wasn't doing the plan I was doing. And when you're told you can't eat at a certain time, if someone says to you, let's go for coffee tomorrow morning, and they're having a little Danish pastry on the side, or let's go out for a nice evening meal, or down the pub on a Friday night, if you're on an intermittent fasting plan and you're restricted to eating between certain hours, there's a big pressure on you to either give up the plan or give up the social aspect. And that creates a conundrum, as always, with any nutrition plan like that, any restrictive diet plan. It's a huge consideration. If you enjoy the social aspect of food or drink, because you can't have beer on a fasting plan, you have to think about it before entering into it. Can you cope with the fact you're going to have to say to your friends, yeah, I'll come, but I'm just going to drink water tonight? Or, yeah, I'll come for brunch, but I'm just going to have a black Americano. Your reason for doing the intermittent fasting needs to be strong enough for you to say yes to those things before you even consider trying it. And they really are my 3 challenges I wanted to bring to your attention today. So you can immediately either write it off or think, yes, I'm going to give it a bash. Do the benefits outweigh those challenges? Clever people out there are telling us there's good reason to do it. People are living the life and feeling great for it. It could be that you feel great for doing it too. I hope it is. My tips for you, if you enter into it, are just be aware of the challenges I experienced. So the lethargic feeling you're going to get initially, that shock to your body, you're going to get that. The social pressure you're going to experience when you're out and about. And the psychological side of things, can you emotionally cope with restriction? Is that a good thing for you? And then do your research, listen to Dr. RANGAN Chatterjee's podcast. Read Dr. Mosley's book. Maybe look into the 5-2 or his new Fasting 800, which I think is very similar. Lots of different methods with the same principles and the same benefits associated to them. It's a case of you discovering yourself and being open, taking an understanding of what it's going to take for you, listening to all the pros and cons, which hopefully I've illustrated a little bit for you today. Reach out to me, message me like so many of you did during my 7-day trial. It's lovely to hear your stories, giving me the support and advice I needed. It was fantastic to hear. Some people actually told me off for doing it. Why are you doing that? What message does it send out? And I get that. I hope today's podcast kind of clears that up for anyone who I haven't cleared that up with already, in that I do these things as an experiment. I understand it's not for everybody. I'm not telling you that you need to do it. In fact, I'm opening your mind up to the reasons not to do it. And I think that's important. If you hear strong opinions on anything, maybe someone tells you fasting is the only way to go, or they tell you vegan is the only way to go, or they tell you that calorie restriction is the only way to go. Personally, I'd be wary of those people, because if they're telling you that their way is the only way, I would tend to believe it's only for reasons that will benefit them as opposed to you. There is never one nutrition or diet plan that is going to solve it for everybody. It's an absolute fact. I've been in this game long enough to understand that. You see many trends come and go. Low fat was the way to go when I first started. We then got rid of carbs. They were horrendous. We then started saying that counting calories is the only way. I did it. I told my clients to go on calorie restricted diets. I'm against that now. I don't think it's the only way. I think there's multiple ways, and you need to stay open-minded. That's my parting message today. Thanks again for listening. I'll be back again next week with a new guest. You'll be pleased to know. And we're bringing more and more content to you. Please say hello. Please subscribe if you haven't. Leave a 5-star review if you're listening on iTunes. It really helps, because we're getting some awareness around these podcasts now. It's brilliant. And I always love hearing your messages and comments. So keep them coming. I love you people. Have a great day wherever you are. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Fit with Frank podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now so you can be first to be notified of new episodes released every week, where Frank dives deep, chats with some of the finest guests across the health and fitness industry, alongside inspiring stories from people just like you, so we can inspire and hopefully empower you to lead a happier, healthier lifestyle. Have fun.